I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pledge is especially poignant today.
Isn't it?
Just when you think things can't get worse.
Miss Rachel has just joined us. Hi.
Next item is approval of the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. I approve the agenda for
A
today.
second.
Kathy seconded.
I didn't hear who second.
Trisha,
Kathy,
Okay, thank you.
Trish, you.
Trisha, I think.
Mhm. Okay,
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Aye.
there is no public comments.
No public comments. That's gets us to approval of the December 15th committee minutes.
I move we approve the December 15th committee minutes.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, I guess it's to the meat of our meeting.
Okay. What do you want me to open up the documents or the motions? Where do you want me to go?
I think the document would be the best. Now, did we get incorporated all of the motions from our last meeting?
Except for the ones that I just sent to you all from July through December. And I also added the OEs, made them, let's see. The OE6, the things that were in the finance committee meeting. So I incorporated that in the OEs. Let's see, OE, and I made them blue to make the changes. So in OE6, I incorporated the documents that finance had presented to the board so that you can have them in the next reading. Tell me to slow down. That was OE6, OE7. Then I added its own numbers to 16. Let's see, I think it's 17 and 18. Yeah, OE17 administrative technology and OE18 is food service.
Okay, so they're all in blue so that we can draw the board's attention to them.
Yes, and then I added the results of what you submitted on this page with this document. Did you want it to be a separate page or is that fine?
Right where it is, but on that, I'm going to scroll down there. I don't think the roll-ups, you see the roll-ups that we're doing, I'm not sure that they are as important. They're important for his review, but I'm not sure they're the results as the really detailed stuff that Daniel gave us. You know what I mean? His matrix is very thorough, and I think that's what people probably need to see, because those are the actual results we want. the roll-up is kind of for our ease of doing an evaluation.
So where this is, put Daniel's matrix in here.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I would suggest. I mean, I'll open it up for the rest of the committee. But I think that's what's important.
Oh.
It also shows how specific the results are.
Mhm.
Whereas this, this is a little higher level than.
All right, I'll check.
Do we,
Kathy.
so we have the academics here. But should we also have, in your statement, you talk about the recruitment and retention of qualified staff and fiscal responsibility. We also have a metric for that. Should that be included if we're going to
Yes, ma'am.
include the,
Yeah.
yeah, okay,
Yeah, those two would also be in there because they're
Yeah.
the measures.
right,
But it's just that academic achievement is just so much more complex than what we're showing here.
yes.
I think that should be substituted.
Okay.
Everybody else good with that?
Fine. Me.
Rachel's good with that. Tricia, you good with that?
Yes, I think that sounds good.
Which it is. Okay. So we got that done quickly. That's great. Now, the other thing, Robin, that you gave us was, oops, wrong tab, were the motions that we have not yet incorporated. Is that?
Correct. I went back and pulled up motions that I started with July, motions that were made either to act into policy or motions, i.e. like changing the board meetings and we have to end at 9:15 now. Things like that that need to become a policy because we've started enacting those things. So. So do you want me to start with the latest ones? What do you want us to do? I just started.
I went
working
right down.
backwards.
Yeah, I went down to the July ones. I don't
Yeah,
know why.
start at the July ones.
Okay.
Okay, the first one, Finance Committee. References to the Board of Education and the Procurement Code document be given to the Standing Policy Committee for placement in the handbook made, or I'm not sure what that means.
And or policy manual.
References to the Board of Education in the Procurement Code document. Oh, okay. Should be in the handbook or the policy manual. Okay. My thought is that that should probably be in the handbook
Handbook.
because it just seems like handbook kind of material.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm not sure of a graceful way to put it in there.
Do
Yeah.
we just
There,
attach, is the procurement
it's a,
code, is that documents already in the handbook?
well, if I may, Robin had gone through for the finance committee and pulled out all references to it in the procurement code and told where that was. So I think it's just like a one-page document at this point.
Yeah, there's Reggie
Yes.
Murphy had prepared,
Yes.
had gone through the
Yeah.
procurement code and prepared that list for us. And I think it's helpful for the board members to know what the references are. So maybe it could just be, board procurement code responsibility so that they're aware of it.
Mhm.
So,
That's a good
So,
idea. I just didn't want us to put a 75-page document in here. If it's a
No,
no,
one,
it's okay.
it's short.
Yeah.
It's like maybe 2 or 3 pages long, I think.
that's great.
Okay,
Can you?
so we put in the handbook already. This is the handbook. So we put in red, roles and responsibilities of board members, state statutes, and relative to procurement. So would that suffice?
Yeah, and that doc, where it says relative to procurement, does that lead you to this document that Reggie did?
that Reggie made, yeah.
I think so. I mean, if that's what you want, we can also put the link. We have the procurement handbook. There is a link, or we can just put the 2-page document that Reggie made.
It seems to me we should put the 2-page document, but
We
Rachel,
need to get a title to it. Yeah.
you're more familiar with it than I.
Well, are we going to, the additional documents that are going to be added, are we going to just like maybe make them be addendums or exhibits or whatever and say like, A, B, and label them that way?
My thinking.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
David? Yeah. I was kind of envisioning that just like when Robin gave us 2 years ago, that binder that had the different tabs.
Hmm.
And so I was kind of envisioning that this could be, these additional documents to be added could actually, maybe have their. Is that what you're asking, Rachel?
Yeah, I was basically saying where it says additional documents to be added, kind of like a index would do, so that people know that tab, whether
Mhm.
it's tab A, tab B,
Right.
exhibit A, whatever, but some way to label them, because where it says what, roles and responsibilities of board members, that could just be right behind the state statutes, under tab C, for example.
Yeah, I think the more clearly it's organized and enumerated and everything, the better it's going to be used as a resource.
I think so too. And then the board members could have that notebook with them at board meetings if they needed to make a reference to procurement issue. And it's readily available. I think it's hard when there's links and you have to keep looking things up. It's nice to have everything all together. Helps me.
That makes sense? Makes sense to you, Robin?
Sort of. Sort of. I'll put it together
for the
since I'm
legal-
visual, and then you can
Okay.
say yay or nay.
All right.
I think where it says relative to procurement, that this particular thing had only to do with the roles and responsibilities. I think Reggie's document is a separate document in itself.
Okay,
Sounds
So that
good.
would be another tab, I guess.
so
References to the board in the procurement code.
current code,
Yeah, something like
yeah.
sounds
Okay.
good.
I'm not familiar with the document, so I don't know, Robin.
I have to go back and find it and pull it back up. This is the finance.
Yeah, we need to send it to you all if you don't have it, Tricia, because
And we saw it once, I
You
think.
had it
Yeah.
before. I'll find it and resend it to you. Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, that gets us to the next motion. Instruct the Standing Policy Committee to incorporate the 10 guiding principles and coherent governance model in either policy or handbook.
And that's the guide, that's already there. We've already added it, right? The guiding principles of coherent
Coherent.
governance.
That's going to be added to the handbook.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's taken care of.
Okay.
And then the third one is, I move that persons other than BCSD employees or those contracted by BCSD who are invited to speak or present to the board in public session will provide, if any, supporting materials on the same timeline as BCSD, such as PowerPoints, documents, etc., to the entire board, scheduled board meeting, yeah, blah, 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 blah.
and
Um,
I think that goes in where we talk about the documents that have to be in the, by Thursday night prior to a meeting. That's where I think that goes personally.
I agree, and
I agree.
I thought we had it in there already, actually.
Where is, let's see.
Actually, I think I see it, number 22 on page 12.
22.
Okay, so we did put that in.
Yeah,
So it's there.
board meeting notification.
Care of that. So that moves us to the August 4th motion,
Yep.
that the board meetings format mirror the options presented for the schools and instructed.
Mhm.
Okay, I guess this is saying that we do in-person or hybrids based on what we're doing for the schools.
Right, this was really just, yeah.
I don't see where that belongs in policy or handbook, to tell you the truth, because I think that was a one-time thing.
I agree with that.
So that we can just take that out.
Yes, ma'am. That's just my opinion, Kathy's opinion, Tricia, and
Mhm.
I mean, it just seems like
Gone.
hopefully that was a lifetime thing.
Yeah,
Like that can always come up again and a motion can be made and it can be
Okay.
put into place, but for it to be a standing policy doesn't really make sense.
I agree. You good with that, Earl?
I agree.
Yeah, we don't want to make that standing policy, do we?
I'm sorry.
Do we want to make that standing policy?
No, I think the consensus so far is no. That's not a stand. That doesn't need to be a policy because
Okay.
it was
that's
just
fine.
an incident.
Is there presently a policy on what our format is?
No,
I think so, back
I
with
think
that
so.
electronic
Mhm.
participation, I
Yeah.
think back in that same,
Like our regular meeting format, though.
you mean that part? That's what our agenda looks like.
No, there was something about attending meetings electronically.
Oh,
yeah,
mhm.
Yeah, that's an option, I think. But I'm just wondering if there's like a place under how our meetings are run and blah, 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 that it says, we generally, I think there used to be language that I recall from one version of our policy manual that said like where we met and all that stuff. But I think that's been taken out now in this
That-
draft,
That had been,
but it's not.
Could it be in the handbook? I don't know.
I
Have
don't-
my handbook.
Yeah, we could put it in the handbook and say during pandemics, we're-
I don't- it's
you
not-
know, It does say on number 21, electronic participation. Board members may participate in meetings by electronic or other means of communication, such as telephone or video teleconferencing.
Mhm.
That's number 21 on page 12.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the intent
Mhm.
behind that original motion was that our board meetings would mirror what the schools were doing.
That was the intent.
Yeah, so
So
I want to make sure that well, number one, my one question was was that necessarily based on our present policies that are on the book, was that something that would have required a 2/3 vote because it would have been a suspension of existing policy? Or I don't recall. But I do know that in a previous draft of another policy committee, there was a whole area in there that talked about where we would meet and what, days. And I believe it referenced, we would meet north of the Broad and south, all of that.
It did, and then that was removed.
Okay. So then I think at this point, we don't have anything regarding our format in here or in our presently used policies. Is that an accurate statement?
That's true, because it does not say where you meet or where you have to meet. So all of that was taken out. Because you had a reference that you met the first and the third Tuesday, and this time you met on this side and so forth. So all of that was taken out.
But it was taken out because we thought each board can decide what they want to do.
Yeah, it seems.
Yeah.
I think flexibility is pretty crucial there, because then every time, if we couldn't meet, like when we decided to not meet at the Hilton Head Library anymore, then we would have had to go change policy, right?
Right.
Rather than just,
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be something that belongs in policy.
yeah.
Do we need to bring or make a note of that to the full board when we do a report, that is one that we did not include? So I don't think we've done that quite yet. I think most of them we've kind of codified.
Second reading, we can say we reviewed the motions and we didn't feel this was appropriate. This one.
Yeah.
I think
Something that we haven't discussed, when we talk about meeting electronically, what about when we in executive session and a person uses their cell phone?
I think we already got an opinion on that, didn't we?
get an opinion on whether the board had liability. That because you can't ensure confidentiality. And I believe Wendy gave us an opinion on that one. Is that your question, Earl? Is that where you're headed?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And Wendy, you're on. So didn't we cover this?
We did get that in an attorney general's opinion,
Mhm.
but I also think it would be, professional for board members to agree that they're not going to be recording, that they can, part of their agreement to maintain confidentiality, and they're not going to be recording those things. Because I will tell you right now, that lawsuit that's going on, that I just looked at it yesterday with Ms. Walls versus the county, there are a lot of issues in that lawsuit about Mr. Becker recording people. I mean, I just think it's really unprofessional if you're in a confidential situation to be recording it.
Mhm.
Well,
It's just,
and in 20, what we have currently listed on page 12, 21D, it says electronic participation in the board members in the board's executive session may be permitted. It is the responsibility of the board member to ensure security and confidentiality. I would like to see, when we do this, I think it's prudent each time to ask each member who is participating that way to state that I am in a private place or something. That board members take a public responsibility stating that they're the only one in the room. I don't know. Is that going too far against somebody's liberties? But I think that, or maybe that statement just needs to be read every time before we have an executive session where people are participating electronically, and those that are can say, yes, I agree.
Agree to maintain confidentiality.
Or agree that I'm the only one in the room. I mean, when people are participating electronically in executive session, there should be no one else in the room with them.
True.
So,
Yeah, I
That
think
is true.
it
That
might,
is true. I don't know. I think, perhaps reading that particular policy in the meeting would be a good idea, but I'd be reluctant to ask people to commit to the, I just think we have to trust them, read that and trust them.
That they
Because when
agree
you
to maintain.
assign something, it's,
yeah.
it sets
Well-
up a different dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we should all be responsible as board members. And one of the first things that, we do when we come on is read all the policies. And if the policy states that we're responsible for maintaining confidentiality and we don't take that seriously, that's on that individual board member. And they're the
So do we delete this motion? Do we want something, we're going to insert it somewhere, or just say that it doesn't fit? Or,
Personally, I think it's time to make a new motion that we return to all board meetings in person. But, that's neither here nor there at this time. I guess since we can't have the public there in person 100%, I guess we can't do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this should stay for the time being.
Yeah.
well, we still do offer 2 options for schooling. I
Right.
mean, so I think this is still applicable, but I think, Rachel, your point is that when we don't have this option of full virtual, that we might have to rescind this motion or something.
Well, we just are mirroring the options. The option won't be there anymore, so there's nothing to mirror, right? So it goes away.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that's the way to handle
Maybe
it.
that's the way to look at it.
Mr.
I don't
Campbell,
think,
girls' hands up.
Oh, I forgot to put it down, but I was gonna say that, if we decide to have meeting in person, then as long as any of the public comes to the meeting, as long as they keep their masks on, because it's just like now when you go to a basketball game, you have to keep your mask on, so that's, I don't know.
all right, so let's move on
Okay,
to this one, because I think we all agree. I'm sensing we all agree
yeah,
Yeah.
that it's gonna die its own natural death because it's not gonna be applicable anymore
no,
if this pandemic ends.
When, David? When?
Well,
When?
yeah, well, my crystal ball is at the cleaners. Okay. Okay, the next one is develop a policy giving the definition of confidential information regarding personnel matters and what the board will receive and not receive from the administration once the disposition has been made. I personally have absolutely no use for this motion. I think the
Okay.
definition of confidential information is pretty clear in statutes. I don't think we need this, but I'm looking forward, look toward the rest of the committee members on this one.
Maybe, is there a stat? Oh, boy, why am I echoing? Are you guys okay? Do you still hear my echo? Okay.
I'm not hearing an echo.
Okay, David, based on what you just said, can we just put in policy, confidential personnel matters are dealt with via the legal definition of the law or something like that?
Does that go in policy or in the handbook, or where would we put it?
Yeah, let me see. Do we
I
have
think
any?
that's covered because we say we follow all state statutes.
It does.
We
It
do
is.
state and federal.
State and federal.
Or it goes up under definition?
Well, my concern about this is that it passed 9-1 that the policy committee develop a policy. So I would hesitate to not follow what the motion, says, because it was approved by 9 out of 11 to do so. Robin, can you pull that motion back up again, please?
Mhm.
Wendy, do you have a good definition of confidential information that is pertaining to HR or personnel matters that you could maybe?
I can look it up in the administrative regs, Rachel.
Yeah, I think
Confidential
that would be a good
information.
starting point.
Off the top of my head, I mean, we think about personally identifiable information, HIPAA, health information. Those things are confidential. Diagnoses, lab tests, certain things that cannot be disclosed. But I can get a definition for us.
And might that be something that would fit in the policy manual under,
Definitions, you mean, Tricia?
well, I was going to say maybe under executive session, because isn't that the only time that we receive personnel information?
You do.
And so it could be executive session or personnel matters, and then it follows that specific.
And also, in addition to personnel, we have other confidential legal matters that arise. We do.
Yeah.
It could also, OEs are policy. So it could also go into OE4 somewhere.
Well, that's a good idea, Kathy.
I mean, I think that sometimes it's forgotten or OEs aren't seen as policy, but they are. So,
Because this one is about personnel, but I'm thinking too, it's confidential when we talk to you about security matters, security information.
Yeah.
It's confidential when there are certain federal agencies that are conducting investigations.
Yeah, I'm just looking at what the actual
Yeah.
motion said, and it was in regard to personnel.
Right, when I think
Yeah.
about confidential, though, these things come to my mind. That's what,
as I recall, the intent behind this motion is to ensure that the board is made aware of
Personnel
different
matters.
personnel matters.
Personnel
So-
matters,
So
yeah.
if
Right.
that's the case, then maybe Kathy's suggestion of it being in an OE is more appropriate, because then this is the expectation that Dr. Rodriguez ensures that we are made aware of personnel matters. I mean, is that what you all recall the intent behind this motion was?
Yeah, and I can't, I think that's what the intent was, but I can't remember. There must have been some feeling that we weren't getting, that some information was deemed I don't know. I don't know what triggered this.
What triggered it, there was information that was, the argument was there was information that was shared in executive session that may not necessarily should have been shared in executive session. And it was whether it was confidential to be in executive session, or should you have been able to discuss it in open session?
Oh,
What about the last part where it says what the board will receive and not receive from the administration once the disposition has been made?
That's an OE almost by definition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, good point.
Mhm. Really good point.
So do we put it here, or you will?
I think
So this starts out with expectations include. Can you go back to the motion, Robin, real fast? Expectations include
About hiring people, isn't that what it
that the
was?
board will receive confidential information regarding personnel matters. Oh, and I'd have to think about this one but it does seem like maybe that an appropriate place for this.
yeah.
And almost just take the policy word for word, since the beginning of it is the expectations are.
Tricia, you're going kind of in and out. Where are you saying to put it?
Yeah, I don't know why. My internet's not been very healthy lately. Starter E4 says expectations include, right?
Mhm.
So
Correct.
then if you just take the motion and drop it in, the last number,
There's one there about protecting confidential information. I think it was at number 9
Number
Uh-huh.
8, yeah.
or 8.
Number 8
Protecting
says protect.
confident-
and we might be able just to put the motion right in there.
Right
the way
here?
it- Right, the way it's written.
Yeah,
44.
Stop.
Protect. So what do you, how much to keep in?
maybe protect confidential information, legally defined confidential, maybe? I'm just talking off the top of my head. Let's see, protect confidential information, comma, using legally defined confidential information regarding personnel matters and what the board will receive and not receive from the administration once the disposition has been made. I don't know.
Mhm.
Rachel, you're the word person.
oh,
Well, and Tricia, yeah.
Kathy.
What?
Yeah, I would say protecting. I would put legally defined before confidential information, protecting legally defined confidential information.
Okay,
And then after confidential information, I would say regarding personnel matters. So if you just delete everything, Robin, until you get to regarding personnel matters. There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
but we need to be clear on what once the disposition has been made, disposition of what?
the disposition, yeah.
Mel's got his hand up. Mel?
Well, I'm trying to recall this motion, and I think the intent was to make sure we got what we needed from the administration or the superintendent, as opposed to too much information, but more specifically, not enough information when it comes to the confidentiality. And I don't know how we address that from this standpoint, unless we write something. I think the intent was to write something specific on what we needed. That was what was directed, specifically what we want to get from the administration, and no more or no less. So legally defined confidential information would cover that, then I think we're fine.
Yeah, and Robin, I think it should say protect instead of protecting at the very beginning. Sorry. Confidential information. I don't think the comma is necessary after information. Matters and what the board will receive.
Yeah, because I think it's individual. It's an individual case. I mean, what they give versus what the situation determines that they give, it might be a little bit, different from time to time. So that's my opinion on it. Anyway.
I think that's a good point, Mel.
Yeah.
Each situation can be a little different, and there's no way we can define every one, but legally defined, I think, gives us the umbrella that we need in case we want to challenge that this administration is not giving us information.
Right.
All right, is everybody okay with that? It sounds good to me.
That's fine. 44.
Action, Robin, it says action passed 9. Oh, sorry. I'm thinking that was the date. Forgive me.
Mhm.
My,
You are forgiven.
my brain must be swollen too.
No.
I have the power to forgive.
Okay,
Maybe we didn't put that in. All right, now we have a motion that the board meetings end or recess at 9:15 p.m. I think it's pretty obvious where that goes up under the meeting format.
yeah,
Right.
That one is,
And then we have that site so that,
Oh,
I don't know.
where we have the whole agenda listed. Right, yeah, that
Okay.
part, right?
Right here, the board would normally hold its regular meeting first and third, work session, special call, board meeting agenda. So put it here.
Yeah, maybe after D where it says adjournment.
right.
Mhm.
And you could put in parentheses,
Yeah,
board meetings end or recess at 9:15 p.m. put the site on that August 15th motion? Oops.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, everybody good with that?
Yeah,
Like those easy ones.
yeah.
Okay.
This motion, the first one under August 18th, I didn't know if that's because we have a FOIA OE. I didn't know if that's something that should be put in the FOIA or if this should be put in the OE or if this is just a format kind of thing.
The policy says that we get something, then the superintendent gives us what he's going to give us, and we either agree or don't agree. And I think that this would fall into the either we agree or don't agree with what he's giving us, if that makes sense.
Here's the FOIA. So there's the FOIA.
So, yeah. So it
Okay,
could
so-
be, you could
So-
add
Right.
an DFGH to this.
Mhm.
Reason for being denied or something. Isn't
Maybe
that-
have that be G and then have H be post all responses.
Mhm.
Because of denial, it might be it's FERPA, so it's protected information,
Okay,
that kind of thing. It's usually when there is a request denied, it's they're asking for an educational record of information that's not disclosable under FOIA. That's usually what happens. Or they ask for something that's confidential.
Yeah.
They can't know
So-
someone else did.
So here we put denial reason.
yeah, reason for denial, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then G becomes H. Okay.
Yeah.
Begin 8 and 18.
18.
And this becomes H.
Mhm. And you'll probably want to capitalize that
Vice that
reason.
R, yeah.
Yeah, just to keep it
Yep.
consistent.
Okay.
Okay. All right. The next one is any presentation being made to the board should be placed in board docs prior to the presentation. I think we have that covered already.
Yep.
In 2.4. Receipt of presentation, it should be placed in board docs by the board administrative assistant. I'm not
So
sure.
this was a motion, then this was a second, and then it ended up by postpone the discussion until policy discussion, and that passed 8-3. So it started off that, and we moved, those were the three motions that ended up being postponed.
But don't we have, so what were we adding to?
So I thought we just already added that.
I thought we had.
It was
to-
already added.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, it was added
Yeah.
under board meeting notifications, number 22. So doesn't this take care of it?
Okay. I
Yeah.
think so.
That's fine.
Robin, do you think the PPTS could be written out? Because people might not know what that means. PowerPoint, what's TS training?
It's
think that covers
PowerPoints.
it.
PT is for point, yeah.
PowerPoints, that's
Yeah.
what it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, I didn't know.
I don't think this one does cover it. This is in regard
No.
to anyone other than BCSD employees.
Oh,
And the other one I think was
The
any.
Paragraph before that cover it. Letter A.
Where we say other
Yeah.
outside people have to adhere to the same rules.
right.
Put that in there somewhere.
All board members and staff members. All
It says the supporting,
I thought we had something that said if we had outside speakers, they had to adhere to the rules.
That's that one.
Right here,
that's the one in black, yeah.
right.
Okay, so what are we missing, Rachel?
Can you go back to the motion, Robin?
Any present,
It just says any presentation. It doesn't talk about people other than, and I don't honestly recall what was the entire just behind this, if it had to do with,
I think I remember, I think it was specific. I think it was probably Dr. Bradley's first presentation. And he used a PowerPoint and it wasn't in there. I think so. I think he didn't probably
he used
know
it as his, right, he used it as his
his
talking points
points.
and did not share it at the beginning.
Yeah,
Right.
And this started out as a motion, then this was a next motion that came behind that. So these two weren't voted on, and then finally you got a motion to postpone the discussion.
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
I think that if we limit people from preparing talking points, as somebody who's done presentations, I may not always have my presentations done 4 days in advance, or something new might come up, or someone might, so to require me to have it submitted, or then I would just say, I can't use talking points. I just have to talk through it and not share anything visual. So,
Yeah, I get your point. I'm thinking that what we have presently under A and then the black text here doesn't necessarily cover what that situation was for that motion. And I get what you're saying about it not necessarily being, and I make edits up until right before I make a presentation. So
right.
I don't know if maybe we could bring this back for discussion.
Yeah.
Because maybe even requiring that there's printouts or something of it. I don't know.
And this what we have would kind of take care of that. If they miss the deadline, then the person's responsible for distributing the necessary materials to board members.
Right.
And I think probably in this instance, I don't think it's happened other than that one time.
Yeah, and this wasn't necessarily in effect, or so we're
Right.
going to our present.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
So we might just need to kind of point people to this and make sure that they're comfortable with this covering all scenarios.
yeah.
Okay.
We also had the incident with the auditor.
All right.
Yes, now that was, yes.
Yeah,
That was
and
the
nothing
reason for
has
what's in
been-
black.
And that's
Mm.
the reason for what's in black.
Right. I think it covers all situations, in-house and out of house.
This is policy. Hold on, I was trying to see the policy number. GC2.
Yeah.
GC2 22. Is that fine?
That's fine.
Yeah,
Okay. So we're now to the October 20th?
yeah.
Or, okay,
And this one, okay, is this a policy? I guess it's a policy.
Yeah, it wasn't a
Yeah.
policy before. It was just a
No.
procedure, right?
correct.
So,
Is there, isn't there an area though in the, somewhere that says something about what we're provided?
No, but it was brought up that you should have something to talk about what you're provided.
I thought there was, isn't there something in here that says what devices we have?
I don't think so.
That would be a handbook issue.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's not a policy that says
No,
that you're provided phones, computers, printers.
okay,
That was a practice.
practice, right.
Just like we pay for your internet. That's not a policy, but we do pay for your internet.
so do you think this is a handbook thing then? That
So,
Yeah, I would think it's a handbook
Yeah.
thing. It's not-
board members' badges will provide access to the district office only?
Yeah, and perhaps we do need to have something that kind of memorializes what is the standard of what a board member receives.
Mhm.
Because I know we have this, and then there was the cell phones.
Right, right.
So,
I think that if we put it in the handbook, we could always just follow it per the motion, so
Yeah.
people realize that it's got the strength behind it. But I think handbook for now would be great. If we want to have something later on, it might be for like the first quarter. When we meet again quarterly, or however when we're going to meet, we could discuss about adding a policy about all the
Yeah.
different items that board members receive or are eligible to receive.
So what do you want me to put here? Board members,
I think it can go in the handbook.
right?
Mhm.
Additional documents to be added. So we would call it,
Board member building access and available devices, something like that. If we want to put that in there. Because you get to choose, right,
Yeah.
between a laptop and a, yeah.
Mhm. Oh, that's fine. That is good. Mhm.
Robin, I
is that
think,
fine?
I think it has to say members apostrophe.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
No, down. Well, and down in motion, it should say, plural for board members, then apostrophe. There you go. Yep, I think that will take care of it.
good with that? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Now we have November 13th motion. Direct the superintendent to develop a PE relative to a checklist process for board approval of contracts. Well, it says contract, but all right, Rachel, this was your motion, so
Is this an OE?
I don't think this is to us right now. I think we're still waiting on the PE. That's where I thought we were on it.
Yes, and I'll just mention real briefly to all of you that I've talked with the people in procurement, and there's so many different kinds of contracts that require
true.
different types of duties and responsibilities with them. Kaylee Yinger has a checklist that she uses in the procurement department, but they're the IT contracts, and they're the software, and there's the copyright issue. And then when you have the construction contracts, it's a whole different.
Right.
I mean, there needs to be more than one, there's going to have to be like more than one kind of checklist because there's such different types of contracts. So we need to work on that and make it something that's useful. The construction contracts, for example, they have a lot of requirements that you wouldn't find those, say, in a real estate contract or, instructional services contract. So we need to work really hard on that so we don't get ourselves into another situation. And it's also very important that all those contracts, go through the procurement department and, go through the legal department. So, and that we have a source of funds and that we comply with the procurement code. So there are a lot of things that we need to do and make it work better.
yeah, if we view it as a process as opposed to a checklist, it makes it a little different because a process set to say adheres to all requirements of procurement code or reviewed, the procurement code were reviewed for all requirements. That would be a
Source of funds, a source of funds has to be there, legal review has to be there, all those things.
Yeah, if we view it as a
You don't
process, it would be a little easier, I think,
Yes.
as opposed to a checklist.
Excellent point. Yep.
Yeah.
And the process, yeah, I'm not sure who would develop that, whether it would be the superintendent or the board. I guess the motion says superintendent, so.
Yes.
So I've been talking with the people and, talk with people in finance, talk with the folks in IT. And even with negotiations, I mean, we have operations. I mean, there's so many different areas that we need to make sure we cover and that we've covered everything. We have to be very diligent, so.
So this is really not a policy. We've already directed the superintendent to do this.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So go ahead and take this out. So this wouldn't be.
We need to
My
follow up
opinion.
on it.
We've got to develop a PE for you all.
Right.
That's what we need to do.
It would be.
So
an
would that
OE.
go under superintendent as far as with operational expectation? How would we have, this would be, it's a PE, right?
Mhm.
PEs become OEs.
OEs, PEs become OEs, but would it come under superintendent duties and responsibilities, or what is that called, y'all, in the superintendent expectation? A board superintendent relationship?
I don't think this motion was meant to become any type of expectation or the like. I think it was because of the cycle and because the district knows more of the contract process that we were asking the super to let us know, what does that look like and what should the board be looking for when we're approving these, what are the steps that you guys go through if it's a technology contract, who signs off, and when it comes to us, who should we be making sure has had eyes on these things, and those kinds of things, I think.
Okay, I don't know why we thought it was going to become a PE. I'm not sure how we got that. But.
No,
Well, I think the intent was to
That was the
streamline,
motion.
like Rachel say, what we have to scrutinize. And it came about because of the the K-12 contract, I think this was part of the reason we came up with this, because we wanted to know what to look for where we check off, so that we don't dismiss something, that we don't, adopt something or pass something that wasn't vetted thoroughly. So
Mhm.
the idea was that they give us a process, a general process, and then of course we have to follow up with scrutinizing questions. And the plan was to make sure there weren't any loopholes in the process, period, in terms of how we get to yes, go, offer the contract.
You're
Mhm.
right, sir. You're right.
Yeah,
I'm
So
for anything
I'm
that says,
like Dick in terms of this. I mean, David, in terms of this, process is important. We have to do the vetting at the end of the process, though, to make sure that every specific individual contract is getting the proper vetting.
Yes, sir.
And that requires, something that we're not gonna be able to get specifically, from Frank, because he'll have to give us something on everything, like Wendy says, something on every particular thing. So we're just looking for a general, what we're gonna get, the cost, what we're gonna get, what the service is supposed to be, what's, deliverable, and et cetera, et cetera. And then we look into the finer details of it as board members. So that's the way I look at it. And they offer us the answers to our specific questions.
I agree.
In the K-12 contract,
Yeah.
we as board members didn't ask enough questions, and they probably could have given us a little bit more general process deliveries from the district standpoint. So I think that's what this comes about from. And I'm
Yeah.
sure there are other contracts that we haven't looked at as finely as we could, because we probably don't have the expertise to do it. But bottom line is, if they lead us in a direction, we can follow.
Sure.
The other thing I think we found out with that K-12 was there was no process.
no,
There was no documented process.
Right.
That we
And there
have to
was-
start documenting our processes.
And all departments have to work together.
We just have to get in the habit of having a process that's written. Otherwise, when people retire, the process goes out the door with them. Nobody knows what it was. So, yeah, I agree. I think Mel nailed it.
You
We
did.
just need to know what the process was, and then we have to ask the right questions. But we need a process
Do. We do.
documented.
Mhm.
So what do we do with this one? Just,
Already given them direction.
okay.
Says develop a
what you said.
PE, what you mean?
Rich,
An OE.
you-
Yeah, my understanding based on the discussion that we had at that meeting was that we were going to wait for him to bring that PE to us, and then we may or may not need to develop a policy to accompany it. So,
well, this is the
Mhm.
last one. And I have a hidden agenda of trying to get out of here by 4:15, so
It's okay. We need to, yeah, so y'all can get ready for
I guess
next.
it's
Yeah.
not hidden anymore. Develop a policy, district maintain 10% insured value capacity and 8% funds. I thought we already did this.
yeah,
Did we?
I thought, we did
I
that
think
already.
this is in an OE.
Yeah.
I think it was an
I
OE.
think it's an OE and,
Okay,
My phone is ringing. OE. No,
I thought we did.
right here,
Yeah,
maintain.
yeah,
Here,
maintain,
yeah.
yeah.
There it
So-
is. Great.
Doesn't that feel good when we already did it?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, we have one more item that off the top of my head. And that is Wendy got an opinion on the complaint grievance.
Okay,
And I think the opinion was that they're interchangeable. So, and I believe that we put them in as interchangeables, grievance/complaint. So I
And
think
also
we-
the idea was that the grievances are, that's like an employee, when an employee follows a grievance against another coworker, you know, support, but with a board member, you know, somebody has a complaint against or has an issue or whatever, or a concern. So we just need to figure out how we want to address that. And, you know, those new Title IX regs, they say you can file a complaint sort of informally, or you can file a formal one, which is more of a serious nature. So, but I don't want people to get confused about, you know, there's a personnel HR grievance with district employees, and then we have this other one. So it's whatever words that you all want to use. So,
I'm comfortable with the way we have it, but
okay,
well, that's just me.
and how the rest of you feel, yeah.
Earl, what do you think?
I would just have to go back and reread it again. So Wendy, could you send us that opinion?
It's,
I actually talked via,
Okay,
I
okay.
talked with the School Boards Association, but when Tricia and everybody, when I'm back in the office, I actually did some research trying to look at what other jurisdictions did, so I can give that information to y'all too when I'm back there. I think that'd be
Yeah,
helpful.
I would just have to take a little bit of time to reread.
Yeah, we
what
need
we
to
wrote,
reread it
so.
and be careful so that you all are, you know, are comfortable with it.
Yeah,
And the opinion came from where, you said?
It wasn't like, it didn't say quote a legal opinion. What I did was I checked with Tiffany Richardson, who's the general counsel at School Boards Association, Scott Price, who was their general counsel, now is their director. I was talking with them in via email about how we were working on our policies, and they had actually reviewed our policies, I guess, when Drew Davis was there. I guess they looked at all of them for the board.
yes, they
But,
did.
right, they did.
but anyway, they were saying, we were talking about how a grievance, a lot of times you think about an employee filing a grievance against another district employee, you know, and that, but we can decide which word, you know, we want to use. But it's not a grievance, you know, how it says here in B, the board does not consider the following grievances subject to this policy, teacher employment dismissal. I mean, there's certain matters that are personnel HR matters that are not something that you all want to be involved with. I mean, you don't want to be involved in an employment decision that has to do with ejection of force. Or reassigning or transferring an employee. I mean, that is something the superintendent has the right to do that. So to me, it needs to be more of a complaint against a board member, that type of thing.
Yeah,
Or the
I-
superintendent.
Or the
I mean, our
superintendent,
policy
yeah.
only deals with those two people.
Right, and what you don't want to have happen is you don't want to have staff members, or employees try to engage you to get involved in a matter that's an HR matter.
Right.
And that's what we don't want to have happen to you all, so.
Right, and right, that's why I think under B, that's
Mhm.
why I think that those things are important, because
They are,
they could be complaining, filing a grievance against the superintendent because they didn't.
I can't hear you, Kathy. Robin, can you hear can you all hear?
No, we lost her.
I
Now,
lost her.
Okay,
Hey, David, well, since we lost Kathy, I just wanted to show you on page 49, that previous motion we were just discussing, I think is in here. If you go to page 49, the one about the directing the superintendent. I just wanted to show you guys it was in there, and I don't know if we're gonna keep it in there.
I don't remember.
49, Robin,
Right there. Yeah, Back.
Oh, this one right here?
Oh, except in emergency. Is that?
No,
Hmm?
what we-
Which one are you talking about?
okay, on the copy that I have, it talks about directing the superintendent to develop a checklist for the contracts.
There it
Oh,
is.
there it is, number 19.
Yeah,
19,
it's in there.
Oh, good.
taken care of.
Directs, Board of Education directs, I guess.
I guess we must have discussed it at a different time.
It was probably at the last meeting.
11:13.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Okay, David, I know you need to go.
Okay, Karen, I think we probably need another meeting before we unveil this to the full
Board.
board. I think that'd be probably better than trying to do it via email, so.
Yeah.
Robin, you can just query everybody on their availability, whatever a good day is prior to the next board meeting, I guess. We might have to have a special called meeting.
Our next board meeting is January 19th.
Yeah, so if we could meet before that,
Yeah.
if you would just get everybody's availability, Robin, that would really be great.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty.
Motion to adjourn, anyone?
Yes. I move.
Okay. Any objections?
No.
Thank you all.
Thank
See you at
you.
6.
Getting better
See
and
you
better at
then.
this.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye.
Bye.